On February 23, 1995, a senior executive at Barings Bank in London received a brief, chilling fax from Singapore. It ended with 3 simple words: "I am sorry." The sender was Nick Leeson, the bank's star 28-year-old trader. He had just fled his luxury apartment, leaving behind a financial black hole so deep it would swallow Britain's oldest merchant bank whole. An institution that had financed the Napoleonic Wars and counted the British royal family as clients was brought to its knees not by a global war or a market crash, but by the unauthorized trades of a single employee working thousands of miles away. This is the story of how one man exploited systemic blind spots to execute one of the most catastrophic financial frauds in modern history. To understand how this disaster was possible, we must first look at the sheer scale of the institution Nick Leeson destroyed. Founded in 1762, Barings Bank was a cornerstone of the global financial establishment. For more than 2 centuries, it operated with a reputation of absolute stability, conservative risk management, and aristocratic prestige. It was a bank built on trust, relationships, and slow, steady growth. But by the early 1990s, the financial world was undergoing a profound transformation. Traditional banking was being eclipsed by the high-octane, complex world of financial derivatives. Derivatives, contracts whose value is derived from an underlying asset like stocks, bonds, or currencies, offered unprecedented opportunities for profit, but they also introduced massive leverage and risk. As global markets interconnected, exchanges in Asia, particularly the Singapore International Monetary Exchange, or SIMEX, became hotbeds for futures trading. Established European banks, eager to capture these lucrative new revenue streams, rushed to establish trading desks in these rapidly growing markets. Barings was no exception. However, in their haste to join this high-tech financial gold rush, traditional institutions often lacked the technical expertise and oversight necessary to monitor the highly complex, fast-moving transactions their young traders were executing half a world away. Enter Nick Leeson. Born in Watford, England, Leeson did not come from the privileged aristocratic background typical of Barings' senior executives. He was the son of a plasterer, possessing a sharp mind, an aggressive work ethic, and an ambition to succeed in the fast-paced world of investment banking. He joined Barings in 1989 and quickly distinguished himself as an industrious, highly capable operator. In 1992, the bank sent him to Singapore to head its new futures trading operation on the SIMEX floor. Leeson's primary task was simple: execute trades on behalf of clients and engage in low-risk arbitrage, exploiting tiny price differences between the Singapore and Osaka stock exchanges. But Barings management made a fundamental, catastrophic error in setting up the Singapore office. They allowed Leeson to run both the trading desk, the front office, and the settlement operations, the back office. In any sound financial institution, these roles are strictly segregated. The people who make the trades must never be the same people who verify and account for them. By combining these 2 functions under Leeson's sole authority, Barings handed him the keys to the kingdom. He was effectively authorized to check his own work, with no independent oversight on the ground to verify his performance or question his ledger. It did not take long for the system to fail. In July 1992, a junior member of Leeson's team made a mistake, accidentally buying instead of selling 20 contracts, costing the bank about £20,000. Instead of reporting the error to London, which might have damaged his growing reputation, Leeson decided to hide it. He created a dummy account, numbered 88,888. In Chinese culture, the number 8 is associated with good luck and prosperity, but for Barings, account 88888 would become a financial graveyard. Leeson intended to trade his way out of the £20,000 deficit. But the market moved against him. To cover the new losses, he placed larger, riskier bets. This cycle quickly became a runaway train. By the end of 1992, the hidden losses in the dummy account had grown to over £2 million. By late 1993, that figure surpassed 20 million. To keep the scheme alive, Leeson had to manipulate the bank's internal systems. Using his dual role, he fabricated profits on paper, presenting himself to London as a trading genius who was single-handedly generating a massive portion of the bank's total revenue. The senior executives in London, seduced by the massive profits Leeson reported and lacking a deep understanding of complex derivatives trading, asked very few questions. They praised Leeson, rewarded him with massive bonuses, and ignored warnings from internal auditors who pointed out the dangerous lack of oversight in the Singapore branch. As Leeson's paper profits soared, so did his actual hidden losses. To maintain his position and cover the daily margin calls required by the Singapore exchange, Leeson needed a constant influx of cash. He obtained this by writing options, specifically short straddles on the Nikkei 225 index. This strategy involved betting that the Japanese stock market would remain stable, trading within a narrow price range. If the market stayed flat, Leeson pocketed the premiums, which he used to fund his mounting losses. But if the market moved dramatically in either direction, he would face catastrophic financial liability. By early 1995, Leeson's exposure was enormous. He was essentially betting the entire survival of Barings Bank on the stability of the Japanese stock market. Then, on January 17, 1995, the unexpected happened. A massive magnitude 6.9 earthquake struck the city of Kobe, Japan. The disaster claimed thousands of lives and sent shockwaves through the global financial markets. The Nikkei index plummeted, dropping over 1,000 points in a matter of days. Leeson's short straddles were instantly devastated. Facing ruin, he doubled down. In a desperate attempt to force the market back up, he bought thousands of Nikkei futures contracts, trying to single-handedly support the Japanese index. It was a classic gambler's ruin strategy. The more he lost, the more he borrowed, believing that one big market turn would wipe his ledger clean. Throughout January and February of 1995, London continued to send hundreds of millions of dollars to Singapore, believing they were funding profitable, low-risk arbitrage positions. In reality, they were pouring their liquid assets directly into Leeson's bottomless black hole. The end came rapidly. By mid-February 1995, internal auditors and external regulators began asking questions that Leeson could no longer answer or falsify. The sheer volume of cash requested by Singapore had finally triggered alarms within the Treasury Department. On February 23rd, realizing that exposure was inevitable, Leeson and his wife packed their bags and fled Singapore, initiating a brief international manhunt. They left behind a total loss of £827 million, equivalent to more than $1.4 billion. This sum was more than double the bank's entire available capital and reserves. When the true state of the ledger was revealed to the Barings board of directors over the weekend, the realization was stark. The oldest merchant bank in Britain was insolvent. Efforts to arrange a weekend bailout by the Bank of England and a consortium of private banks failed because no one could guarantee there were no further hidden liabilities. On February 26, 1995, Barings Bank officially declared bankruptcy. A prestigious institution that had survived world wars, global depressions, and geopolitical shifts for over 2 centuries was brought down in a matter of years by the unchecked actions of a 28-year-old trader. Shortly after, the remains of the bank were sold to the Dutch financial group ING for the nominal price of just £1. Nick Leeson was arrested at Frankfurt Airport a few days later, extradited to Singapore, and sentenced to 6.5 years in prison for fraud. He was released in 1999 after being diagnosed with cancer, which he ultimately survived. The collapse of Barings Bank served as a watershed moment for the global financial sector. It exposed the profound dangers of complex financial instruments when paired with inadequate internal controls. The disaster forced financial institutions worldwide to completely overhaul their risk management practices, permanently separating front office trading from back office administration to prevent similar conflicts of interest. Ultimately, the story of Nick Leeson is not just a tale of personal greed or individual deception. It is a cautionary demonstration of how systemic complacency, a lack of technical understanding at the executive level, and a corporate culture that prioritizes short-term gains over rigorous oversight can allow a single individual to dismantle a centuries-old empire.